So welcome to video 10 on the AEC bus. What we're going to be doing in this stage, this isn't actually listed in the instructions, but it's something I feel we need to do. We've done these bench seats in the last issue, and I'll be honest with you, I was a little bit worried about these bottom ones because these bottom couple of planks are only stuck down by 3 supports. There and there. They are literally held on by three bits of glue. Now if I get a cocktail stick, you can see, actually it doesn't really work. If I get my nail and I give that a gentle pull, quite hard, more than what I'd call reasonable, that's really stuck down really well. There is a little bit of flex to it, but obviously you're not going to be poking it. Now what I want to do is, you can't see it, but if you feel it, these planks are not level, whether that's because the amount of glue I've applied or they're not cut exactly flat or whatever, I really don't know. But what I want to do is I want to sand them down so that they're nice and flat. We don't want to take too much off, but we can take, well, we can take up to the width. But so I've had a little go in the corner there. Just as a little off cam, I wanted to sort of make sure the technique I was about to talk about does actually work, and it's fairly flat there. The consequence is that I've just caught the back wall a few times. You see I've got some scratches. So what we're going to have to do is, once we finish sanding this, we're going to have to very carefully just put a thin layer of brown on there just to touch that back wall up. But the scratches haven't gone up to the white line. I think we'll get away with it. The only thing is, we absolutely must not touch those seats because I just want them plain varnish. Now, I don't know what grit of sandpaper I need to use. So I've seen woodworking videos, not modelling, woodworking videos, and there's a really good theory that if you use a very fine piece, if you finish off, let me just go back a bit. So the way we sand wood is we take a very coarse stick. In this case I've got 80, and that will take the wood down quite quickly, but that will leave scratches. So we then move up to something a little bit less coarse. That's actually quite a big jump at 600, and then we can go up to a finer grit and a finer grit, and it will actually make it quite shiny. Now that's brilliant with plastic. If you polish plastic, it looks really nice, and you can do canopies with it. You can get scratches out of clear parts. Fantastic. When you're doing it with wood, I've seen this proven. If you sand that with too fine a grit, it actually kind of creates a seal. So when you put wood stain or anything like that on, it actually doesn't absorb it. So we don't want to treat this like plastic. Now that sounds like an obvious statement. We don't want to treat it like plastic, but what I mean by that is the technique we want to use. We don't want to overfile it. Hello Shadow, how are you? Are you being a pain in the bum today? So this is why I've gone very coarse. Now on this, it is a little bit rough, but not too rough. So I don't think we're going to be going beyond 600. In fact, if anything, 600 might be too much. But what I've done, let me get rid of the cat. Sorry mister, but he's still very upset because he has a little cushion which currently has piles of models on it, and he can't use it. So what I've done, I'll demonstrate on this side. So going into the corner, I've very gently pulled down. Now the middle bit's going to be quite easy, but it's just this corner piece. I don't want to be going with it, so I've had to be very careful, and this is why I've gone with a very coarse sandpaper, and I've pulled it. This is a good technique, pulling it downwards and outwards, Probably don't want to use anything mechanical. So you see that I'm doing very short strokes because I just really can't do anything more. Now that plank has actually lifted, so if that lifts any more I'll probably have to pull it up actually. That won't be a problem. I'll put that down under the thing of repair. So bring that down a little bit and just keep feeling it. If you've got a bit of a fingernail, fantastic, otherwise you just have to use the pad of your finger and just feel that it's smooth. And this has got quite a way to go. I think it took me about 5 or 10 minutes to do this side, so it's not going to be an easy process. So I'm just going to carry on. I think I'm almost there for demo purposes. Right, so it's not there yet, but so when we come to this part here where the curve is, we now want to file following the curve. It's not easy, I'm going to be honest with you, but I think this stage is just going to make those seats a little bit nicer. And what we're looking to do is just remove any ridges. Once we get to the middle it'll be a lot easier, because if we do this piece and then this piece can just be done by going like that. But it's just getting these edges done. Now I've contemplated using an electrical sander, my little Display, and I'm not really sure because of the way that I'm not sure it's going to be any good for the edges, but I think we could probably get away with using it for the middles. So that is roughly halfway there. Now the issue we've got, I don't know if you can see this, let me get my pointy stick out. This stick is actually quite recessed compared to the others, so we have quite a lot of work to do. So the only way we're going to do that is to actually lower these other ones. Let's give it a try with a Display if I can find it. I have this problem where I keep tidying up and I keep mislaying things. No, it's disappeared for a bit, so we'll carry on doing it by hand. So we're going to have to be quite aggressive, and yeah, that stick is actually coming up. I'm not happy with that. So if I can lift it enough to get a cocktail stick under there, I can just pop some glue in there. The problem that we had was these are very hard to clamp down. As you can see, look, it's just not, it's not really in a good position. That might do it. Yeah, that might do it. So let's see if I can just lift this stick. Yeah, I think I can lift it. Right, let's find a knife, 2 knives. If I can lift that stick enough to get a blade underneath it. Lovely, there we go. And then we can just pull that back a bit, so you can see I've created that gap. And then what I can do then, I'm not going to worry too much about glue squidge, because we have got the sanding sticks out, but obviously I'm going to have to give this some drying time, which is a bit of a pain. Now I'm not, oh, I've just lost this, look. Right, so I'm not going to be able to bring it nicely up to the camera because I'm using both hands for this, but splodge of glue in there, press that down, and yeah, it's actually quite recessed. So here's an idea. Here is an idea. So if I get a small piece of stick, let's use a coffee stirrer, square that off. This might just work. Find the plank in question, and I'm going to place this piece of wood sideways. This might actually do it. Penny, you might be a genius. You might not. There we go. So I've managed to place a piece of wood sideways and then clamp that. And that might just do it. So guys, I'm going to give that about 10 minutes until it dries, because there's no point sanding it while it's trying to pop up. Okay, and what I'm doing now is I'm just checking all of the other planks just by lifting it with the edge of my knife. If it doesn't lift, that's fine, but obviously while I've got the glue out, I want to try and repair it now. But all the other planks are fine. Okay, so that's dried enough to be able to work with. However, I want to do a little bit of an experiment. I'm going to leave this side. So while that was drying, I did a little experiment off camera, and I did actually get the electric sander in there, and I would say that's not far off perfect. So what I'm using is I'm using an 80 grit. I think this 80 grit is fine, and the display sander I'm using a 180. 180 is the harshest I can go, because that's the only bits that they give us. So to get it started, I'm having to really get in there like this and get it kind of started, and I'm just going to keep going until all of the planks are roughly level, not far off there, and then once I've done that, I'm literally, it's not great practice, as you can see from the bend, I'm using the edge of the sandpaper, and I'm just kind of, it's almost like I'm using it like a plane or a knife, and I'm like trying to slice the top off, and then I'm just following the contours of that bench. Obviously, if there's someone out there that's really good at these wooden models and they have a better way, please leave a comment, but this is working for me. So just roughly following the contours and then having a feel. That's quite nice actually, and you can actually now see that there's a little bit of discoloration in the wood, so we need to take that top layer off. Now whether that discoloration has come from the glue or if it's just where the wood is a certain age, you know, it's just picked up general grease and muck just as things would, but that's actually quite nice. That is almost there. Now the rest of it's going to be quite easy. What we're going to do is we're going to get in as far as we can. This is in the way. I just wish there was some way we could have made this before putting that on, but it really isn't. Once we get to a certain point, we can now come in this way. And I am being quite aggressive, but I'm not taking, this sandpaper isn't enough to take a lot off, and that's almost done it actually. Right, now this side we can use the sandpaper as normal, but we must follow the contours, otherwise we create flat spots. We want it to stay rounded. And as I say, I am being quite aggressive. If you're worried that this is taken too much off too quickly, then obviously use a lower grade sandpaper, but I think I'm managing okay with the 80. I mean, if you're super strong, if you're the kind of person that don't know their own strength, you probably want to back off a little bit. I accidentally caught the corner there. I want to be careful not to do that. Okay, now see, you can see from the colour of the discoloration that this blank there is recessed, so I need to keep taking these other two planks off until they match. And I've got a feeling that these are all going to be exactly the same colour, which I was a little bit excited about these being naturally different colours. See, that's almost there, but it's a fair way off, but Now, people aren't going to be able to get in and have a feel of your seat, so I would suggest that just take it down to a point you're happy. If it's not quite smooth, I think you'll get away with it. If it was exterior, I would say make it absolutely smooth. That's almost there. This isn't an easy job, I'll be honest with you guys. None of this has been easy. I fell for the, looking at it and going, yeah, I can do that. It's not quite as easy as it looks. It's certainly not an epic starter set. But to be honest with you, I think the greatest skill needed in making this is patience. I absolutely hate sanding, but I'm appreciating that it's a job that needs doing. And if I don't do this sanding well, the whole model could be ruined just because one bit that I've missed. Right, that is very nearly there, so I think I'm nearly ready. Now I'm going to show you a little Nigel's modelling bench trick. That gets a bit clogged up with wood or plastic or whatever. I can't show you my leg because I'm in a dressing gown, but if you're wearing jeans, imagine that's your leg with jeans on. Just give it a bit of a bang and you can see it's cleared it and it's ready to go again. I do want to be patient, and I want to just carry on with this. I am going to finish it off with electric sander. I am a little bit worried about it being too smooth. That is so close to being there. I can actually, in some places, I can get the whole like you see, I can get the whole sanding stick in, and that makes it a lot easier. The more contact you have with a sanding stick, the easier it becomes. You can see that the discoloration's starting to go there, but it's still there. But this window is a pain in the bum, but we don't do things because they're easy, do we? Manufacturers can make things as easy as they can, but there's only so much easier they can make it. Right, so I've got a little bit of a gap at the bottom. I'm not 100% happy with it, but I think that's not going to be a major problem. What would probably be easier at this point is to cut a little piece of sandpaper off and sort of use it as a bit of a finger tool. Right. So I'm feeling it, and yeah, apart from this bit there, it's all quite nice and flat. Okay, so while I've got this out, I'm going to do this back piece, and this should be a lot simpler because I'm just going to go backwards and forwards. I know I'm not going to get right in the corner. You can see I made short work of that. I just need to go into the corner a few times. Just make sure that's flat. And just keep feeling it with your finger. So, just with the sanding, can you see the difference? There's the one I've done, there's the one I haven't done. Okay, so what I'll do then is I'll finish this off with my sander. Now, I need to be aware that the sander moves in that direction. So it's no point me coming into the corner like that because it's just going to keep hitting. So when I'm doing the sides, obviously I need to come in there. And when I'm doing this bit, I need to come in there. And this I'm going to do in circles. Obviously it's going to mean that we're not going to get really well into the corner, but it's the way it is. So you see that I can't go right up to the edge because of the sander. So I'm just going to keep going over this. I don't know how long the battery lasts on this, so we might actually have to stop, charge it up again, or carry on with by hand. And then once we get to the main bit, we can just go in a circular motion. And like I say, this is 180 grit. We can always go up the grits, but I just want to be wary of the fact that if I go too smooth, it might actually resist the varnish. Okay. I want to just do this little bit. Hopefully there'll be a little bit of a comparison with the part that I've just sanded, so we can do we can start kind of see 3 stages. And I'm just being conscious. I don't want any ridges. As you can see, it is taking a little bit off, but it's getting clogged up very, very quickly. Right, so that is actually really smooth. I don't really know if you can see much of a difference, but I need to take all of this down until it's all the same level. There, I can feel some ridges. This stick there is still a little bit too high, but here it's perfect. So I'm going to do all of this speeded up until either I finish it or the battery runs out. Okay, so in actual fact that speeded up footage is only about 5 minutes. I kept trying to use this, and I keep trying to use this. I paid good money for it, but to be honest with you, I can't find many situations in ordinary modelling where this is actually an advantage. The only time I can think it's an advantage is if you're getting into tight spaces. So like, for example, if I need to sand something in there, then yeah, that's going to be working. But to be honest with you, for this particular piece, a good old-fashioned square piece of sanding is the best. So let's do a random spin. Right, we'll play a really stupid game. Can you guess which seats are done and which seats are not done? I think it's very obvious. So this little piece there, that staining there, it's not coming out. It is part of the wood. This is perfectly flat, I promise you. But I think what's done the job is this 1000 grit. I think it's brought out the different colours of the wood. You can see from the back bit, and that kind of excites me. Right, so I'm going to do this bit off camera because you can tell, you know what I'm doing because I've just shown you. This bit is going to be more difficult because we've got restricted space. So all I can really do is maybe just get into there in the corners like that. And again, these don't actually need to be perfectly flat, but they do just need the tops taken off them, and that's all we're going to do with these floorboards. I'm not looking at taking. Some of these might actually be very, very thin. I think they're 1mm thick wood. They could be as low as 1/2 mil now, but it doesn't matter because you can't see the thickness, but these you probably will. Okay, so I'm just taking down until they're roughly level, just so that each stick has had, and you can actually feel the difference. These aren't really rough sticks, but once you've gone over them with an 80 grit, just a light sanding, you can actually feel the difference between the bits that have been done and the bits that haven't been done. They're nice and smooth now. Actually, that's a lot easier than I thought it was. Okay, so that's fine. I'm happy with that. that's as far as I'm going with the floor. It's not actually, I'm just going to do this bit. There's a little bit up there I'm not 100% happy with, but that might be me being a little bit too much of a perfectionist, but is that a bad thing? Right, so next stage, I think we're now in a position to deal with that overhang. So the best way to do this, I don't want to use my sanding stick really. I suppose we could if we were careful. So I think this is the only option. I think we've actually found a good use for this. So, and you can now see why I didn't paint the outside. So I'm just going to sand these down until they go level. Until they go level with the back of the bus. And then, so take a look guys, that's how scruffy they are now. I'm going to speed this up. Okay, so that is the edge complete. So as you can see, look, there's no floorboard showing. Now one little problem is I was a little bit aggressive and I did lift that floorboard up. If you look carefully, you'll see I was actually trying to hold that floorboard down with my finger while I filed it, but I got away with it. Right, so what we need to do now is clean up, and then you'll see there that where I've hit the sides, I just want to just gently touch that up with brown paint, and I'll do that speeded up because you've seen me paint before. Phew! So I have no problems telling you that that was really hard work. What didn't help was this stick there was really a big difference between the other two, so I was scraping this. So my advice is, if you're going to work on this as soon as you wake up in the morning, do it as soon as you wake up, because if you've already had your morning shower, you're going to need another one after this. Right, so what I'm going to do now, as you can see, I've been hitting the back edge while I've been doing it. So I made up a little tiny bit of this Judea bitumen, and I've thinned it much more than normal. It's about 1 drop of paint to about 3 drops of thinner, and what I'm just going to do is I'm going to carefully just touch up those scratch marks. Because it's thin, we can blend it into the existing paintwork, and you'll never know. Who's going to know? So there we go. It's probably going to need another coat because it's quite thin, but I have cleaned it before I'd done this, by the way. So because it's extra thin, sometimes a little trick I tell people to do, get some paint on your brush and just wick the very end off on a piece of towel, and that will stop it from flooding. And I'm just making sure I go up to the seat, but I'm not getting any on the seat, because that would be a bit of a disaster. Like that. So I'm just concentrating on the edges, and then I'm filling the rest in, and I'm just spreading that over as far an area as I can. I'm not going up to the line because I don't think it needs it. And there we go. And if we think it needs another coat, we'll put another coat on, and we'll just keep going until we're happy with it. Don't forget to get these side bits where I've taken chunks out. I'm not going to worry about the bit where it's primed, because that's probably going to need redoing anyway. And that bit is very, very thin there, so that's probably going to need a couple of extra coats. And yeah, and just keep building it up, guys, until you've covered up all your little knocks. Okay. just like that. By the time we've got everything on, I don't even think you'll notice this much anyway, so let's go as nice as we can. I wouldn't advise using an airbrush because you would have to mask it all off. Okay, just like that. And by the time that's dried, you'll never know. That will be absolutely perfect. Okay guys, so I'll wait till that's dry. So I've decided to go to the spray booth. The main reason for that is I've noticed that the brown, I don't know if it's unique just to the brown, but what it's actually doing is it's kind of reactivating previous layers. So where I painted some of the brown over the white, it's kind of reactivated it, and then when I do the next coat it's pulling it all off, so you're actually getting more white by painting more brown. So I've kind of dotted it on a bit to get the coverage, and then I want to hurry up and seal it all in with the varnish, so I've decided to go to the airbrush to seal it in. So the varnish that I'm using is the Occre satin varnish. I'm not sure if I'm 100% happy with it. I know I'm going to have to revarnish it later on, so I've just used the varnish that I don't really love so much, and then we'll finish it off perhaps with the varnish that I want to finish up with, or so I thought. So the way that I'm varnishing this is I've got it nice and thin, much thinner than usual, maybe well, more thinner than varnish, somewhere between half and a third varnish, and the rest is thinner. And I've used a slower drying thinners. I've put a little tiny bit of retarder medium in, and I want it to just give it more time to settle, and I've just done some nice coats backwards and forwards until I'm happy that everything is done. Okay, so this is it when it's come out of the airbrush and it's dried. Now I'm going to be honest with you guys, I had made a clip explaining about how it's lovely and it's rough, and we're going to sand it down, but we're going to let it cure first. But do you know what, I've left it overnight. Now given that this is inside, I don't think we really need it, and to be honest with you, I think the amount of roughness is not unrealistic for what it is. Now the seats on the top deck we will do absolutely perfect, because obviously you can stick your fingers in. I'm just trying to find them actually in the instructions. Where are the top seats? Yeah, so there's the top seats, so they will be exposed, you will be able to feel them. So we will do those exactly the same, but we'll take them a step further. But I'm actually going to bring this to a close because I think that looks fine. So as I said on the previous cut, there's about 6 thin coats on here. It's just literally airbrush, air, varnish, air, varnish, air, varnish, air, and just keep going over and over until you think you've had enough, and then I've let it dry. Now this is the satin varnish. I'm trying to get a nice angle to get a shine. This is the satin varnish that I first of all thought was no good, but to be honest with you, looking at it now, I think that's perfect. When you think it's the seat, it's not super glossy, but it's a satin varnish, and it's just got that nice little shine to it. It's all fairly even. Now that I've actually done it, I can feel a very slight roughness. I don't know if the varnish has brought, because my theory is when you sand wood down, you get, if you look at it at microscopic level, you get all these little pokey out bits, which makes it, you know, at microscopic level really rough. Now as you sand, you're kind of knocking them down, and then once you get it damp, which you would have done with the paint, it would have enabled them to come up. And this is why in woodwork you do knock it down. You varnish, you knock it down. You're going to take those last bits off, but I'm actually going to leave it there, because with all the various stages, this has taken about 4 days to do this stage, and it's not going to change the appearance much, but it certainly will change the feel. But you know, I'm sorry guys, but if anyone comes around my house when this model is finished, starts poking there, you're gonna have a steps there, they start putting their finger in and poking around, then I'm sorry, they're not welcome to look at my models. But guys, that is the inside, and I think it's starting to get quite exciting now. Next week we're going to start building the sides, which is a stage that really excites me, because as you know, this is broken off once and I've had to repair it, and where I've been sanding I've been slightly knocking it, and as you can see there's a slight wobble, but as you can see from this tab there, once we get the sides in, it's all going to lock into place, and that's then going to become a solid box, which starts to excite me. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I certainly have. I think it's gone from a box, a brown and white box, to something quite exciting. I'm going to do a little critique, and this is a critique of my work. Well, this is a critique of the stage. I could have painted this. I couldn't see the point. It's going to get little knocks. This is a little bit awkward at the moment, and quite often I find myself finding something to put it onto, so that it doesn't hit things. So it's a little bit vulnerable at the moment, because you've got this bit, but it's actually looking really nice. And you know, I've got a friend who's a bit of a bus enthusiast, and I've shown him some of my early stage pictures. He's like, oh, that's nice. And then I've shown him pictures of this stage. He's like, wow, that's really nice. So yeah, there you go guys, that is the bus up to stage 10. It's a bit of a long slog, but do you know what, I think it's worth it. So that's it from me until next week. You guys take care. So I'm going to be honest with you, having tried that satin varnish when I did the masking, I thought, oh, that's just not really going to be good enough. But having done this, I think that is really nice. That's really brought that wood out, and it's actually given it a nice shine on the back. It's not super glossy. It is, as the title suggests, satiny. Now that is a little bit rough, so what I intend to do once it's fully cured, it's just come out of the spray booth, it is dry but it's not cured. Once it's fully cured, I'm going to go over with the absolute finest sandpaper I can find. I think I've got something even finer than this, and I'm just going to give it a gentle rub over the top until it's smooth. We'll give it a clean, and then we'll give it another coat of varnish, and I think I'll stick with the satin. I've actually bought some new varnishes, actually some VMS varnishes, so I think what I might do is I might have a little play with them. I bought a new matte, a satin and a gloss. I bought the gloss for this specifically, but looking at that, I mean, look at the shine on it. I don't think that's going to need it. I think that satin is going to be absolutely perfect. I think the key here is there's probably, it's hard to tell with an airbrush, but there's probably about 6 or 7 coats of varnish on there. Very thin. I've thinned the varnish down with, I'm calling it my self-leveling thinner. All it is just my normal thinner with a little bit extra drying retarder in it. Just makes it dry a little bit longer, take a little bit longer, and then as a result it's got more time to level. And I've just gone over, nice thin layer, lots of air to dry it off, or gone round the whole lot, bit of air, bit of paint, bit of varnish, bit of air, bit of paint, just keep going. I'm guessing there's about 6 coats on there. So I wish you could feel it. It certainly is that not that lovely velvety finish that we had when we sanded it. So we'll go over it with a fine sander, but I'm going to give it a rest for today. I'll continue this video what will be for me in a couple of days, but for you will just be a quick cut.